Tom and Megan are back for another episode in their exploration of WandaVision. Today it's WandaVision 6, All New Halloween Spooktacular. Hello everyone, Tom Fox back again with Megan Dougherty, and today we take up perhaps Megan's favorite, the Halloween Spooktacular. So Megan, tell us why any Halloween Spooktacular is such a part of your oeuvre.
I guess I've just always loved Halloween and other special episodes of series. I think it makes the characters in them, I think, more relatable. Because they're celebrating this event that I celebrate, and they're doing a lot of the same things that I would do celebrating this holiday. And I think it's a chance also, I guess, for screenwriters and for actors and actresses to step out of the normal a little bit and have some more fun. And for this particular Halloween special, it's a very, very interesting one within the context of WandaVision itself, because all of a sudden, for the first time, the children of Westview are out and running around and being a part of the story. And there's, of course, the classic Halloween trope of, disguise yourself so that the truth can be revealed. And I think that's a major theme of this episode.
So I thought it worked on multiple levels. It worked on the silly level. It worked on the playful level. It worked on the familiar or family level. And it worked on a much more sophisticated, nuanced level, I felt, particularly around Vision. But let's start with the kind of the basics of Halloween silliness. And when I think it was Tommy discovers he has the superpower speed of Pietro, I think we had every 7-year-old boy's dream, which is to go snatch all the chocolate and change up everybody's costumes. But later, we had a really serious and significant scene between Wanda and Pietro. And, well, why don't I let you set this one up?
Yeah, that one, absolutely. It really stopped me dead, because this was, like, for the first time, Wanda's being directly called out on what is happening. So, I mean, Agnes has hinted on at it. Vision has been asking about it. But Pietro is straight up like, hey, what you're doing here is wild, and I think you're handling the ethical considerations quite well. And she's just like, really? So what do you think of that? And he's, this character that should kind of came to Westview in a different way than anyone else had. He said that, he was, peacefully dead, and was all of a sudden called back by her into this new universe. And it really made me think that she needed someone that she could talk to honestly about what was going on. Someone who wouldn't judge her, someone who would, be able to have that discussion, and, validate her decisions and choices. And who better than a version of her twin? So I thought that was a really, really fascinating way of kind of giving her that chance to express herself, and, confide in someone, particularly because of something that he said earlier in the episode when he was talking to the twins. And he mentioned that blood is thicker than water. And I thought that was a really interesting choice for the quotation, because I think it's generally understood, right, to mean, the family ties are the closest. But the actual quotation is that the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. And it means the opposite, in that the chosen family that you have is always going to be stronger and more important than whoever you happen to appear with by birth. So I don't know if that was done intentionally or not, but I thought it was an interesting way of comparing the family that she has crafted from nothing. She has chosen them in Westview, and how strong that might be compared to the relationship she has with anyone outside of Westview.
So I don't have a twin by birth. I have an Irish twin sister, which means we were born relatively close to each other.
18 months, right?
Yeah. In our case, it's less than 18 months. But so I didn't view this as particularly insights around twins, although I certainly acknowledge there is that connection. But, I would say things to my sister that probably no one will say, including her husband, and she would be the same with me. And so when Pietro confronts her that Vision is dead, that to me just sounded like a brother or sister confronting their sibling with, well, of course that's true. It is, you know, even though you created this entire village and city of Westview and this entire superstructure to try to deny that, well, of course he's dead. And she blows up at him and hits him with some superpowers. But I just thought that's exactly what a sibling would do. At some point, they will call you out on your stuff in a way no one else will. Not your parents.
It could be said Wanda knew she needed that. And so she called up the character to make it happen. Well,
and that's what I at one point thought that was her conscience. She had creating Pietro as her conscience. For a while, I struggled, or at least questioned, was this Pietro's character development? I don't think so. I think it's something more basic, brother, sister, familial connection, and that, you know, in a situation like that, I might just create a character based on my sister who will have no empathy, that would just say, shut the F up. You know,
it's Wanda's character development, right? Like, I think he was even really clear about it. Like, he showed up to cause some trouble with the brother-in-law, raise hell with the kids, and generally give her grief.
Right.
He really laid out the plot points that he was there for. I thought that was brilliant.
That's what brothers do. You know, so I thought that was a really significant scene, a really powerful scene, and worked on so many different levels for me. But now let's go to Vision, because I think Vision, as a sentient character, is having lots of questions. He's having lots of struggles, almost existential, for he as a sentient character. You want to take it from there?
Sure, because I think, towards the beginning of the episode, when everyone's getting out in their Halloween costumes and ready to go about their evenings, Vision, I think for the first time in the series, lies to Wanda. Because, you know, up till now, he's had concerns, he's had questions, they've even had arguments, but he's never deceived her before. But he says he is going out on the neighborhood patrol, which we learn later from Herb. He was not on duty. He was going out to explore on his own, and he didn't tell Wanda that. Wanda didn't know that, I think, really importantly. And so as he's going out and he's starting to notice these cracks, basically, in the reality of Westview, neighbors on a weird loop hanging the skeleton, children and their parents frozen and not moving as they're trick-or-treating, as they kind of get away from the edge of town, and then finding Agnes, the very ever important Agnes, in her car, just stalled. And he, the same way he did with Norm in an earlier episode, kind of released her for a moment, and he got some information, which I think we can probably have a long discussion about how much, to what extent she was playing him. But you know, he started to realize it was not all that it seemed, and he left. He tried to leave. He tried to get out, only to, of course, not find any help from the outside world. I thought it was really interesting, the things he explored and discovered, particularly the aggression of the outside world.
Let's go through some of those, starting with the patrol. That really, I thought something else was going on with that patrol. I thought that had a different meaning than him just lying to her about what he wanted to do and engaging in deception. That my fear was that even in this little town, they still had to have Halloween security patrols. And so I thought it was acknowledgement that even in Eden, things like this, something bad could happen. Then he goes out and he starts to see the people. I did not think Agnes was playing him. I thought it was a rare moment of honesty with Agnes and clarity with Agnes. And for me, and maybe that's why I thought it was so powerful, because I had that interpretation. If I had thought she was playing him, perhaps I wouldn't have found it so powerful. But, and then him trying to leave. And the first, well, in my rewatching for this podcast series, I thought I had two or three different thoughts. One was he was just running to run. Two was he was trying to test the parameters of this hex he was in. Did it exist? If so, how strong was it? And three, could he get out of it? And then the third thought was that perhaps if he escaped it, he could come back and save everything. I'm less inclined to believe that now. But I'm sort of settled on he was just testing the superstructure that he was in. Did you think he was trying to run away or one of the others? Or once again, do you have a different interpretation of that?
I mean, I think he was trying to escape. I think that as far as Vision understands, I don't think he knows he's died. And for all he knows, there are the Avengers outside of this hex, whatever caused it, whether it was Wanda or some other force, waiting to help. And he, sadly learned that was not true. I don't think he was just testing the boundaries of it. I think he was operating on the assumption that there were good forces that would help on the outside, when there turned out not to be.
So let me go back to a scene we had a little bit earlier where they have something called electronic mail comes in the computer, and it's an email from Sword telling them, advising Vision of the situation. So that was cool. And to hear electronic mail, I hadn't heard that in a long, long time. Maybe 30 years. But the whole scene with Norm, I think, where it wasn't clear to me why Norm became so upset. Then Vision kind of readjusted his brain, and Norm said, she's got us under control, or she's controlling us, meaning Wanda was controlling all of the people. And then Vision kind of did the Vulcan mind trick with him and put him back to being more submissive. What were your thoughts on all that?
I think I don't know if there was a lot of intentionality in what Vision was doing. Kind of when he, zapping people in and out of awareness, it seemed to be contact with Vision that did it more than anything else. Maybe that has to do with however magic intersects with the different components of his reanimated body. But I think it was part of him kind of learning what was going on. And I think, to your point earlier, he probably was trying to just, to explore the context of other people within it and what was going on. I thought it was fascinating. The conversations he had must be so confusing. It must have been so confusing because he's got this, quite idyllic life that he's, living with his wife and children and briefly a dog. And then kind of just underneath the surface is this horror and terror of what's going on. And then have that confirmed when he tries to leave. Very, very chilling.
I do have to throw in one reference because I watched it again this weekend. At one point, Pietro says, "I feel the need for speed." That comes from Top Gun. If you have not seen Top Gun Maverick, it is awesome. We rented it and watched it at home on the Fox Home Theater stereo, and it was just awesome. So, but I feel the need for speed. That was pretty cool. Any other cookies or particular lines that resonated with you, Megan?
Well, I think one of the big ones that I really liked was just, again, the opening number, kind of introducing the era that it set in. Because the 90s, that was really my time to enjoy television as a young person. And Malcolm in the Middle, the one they were referencing at the beginning, was like the family favorite for several years there. So that was really fun to see with kind of the individual shots, the talking to the camera, the really aggressive breaking of the fourth wall. So I just thought that was fun and a really nice callback. And how terrifying was that yogurt commercial? Because all throughout the commercials and the stories have been kind of getting stranger and more unsettling. And this one was really distressing. This child starving on an island and unable to get into his snack and perishing. I'm not sure exactly what that says about Wanda's mental state, but it is clearly not good. So
Disturbed.
Could
we maybe say a few words about Monica, Jimmy, and Darcy?
Yes, the dream team.
The dream team.
Would I watch a spinoff with just those three? Yes. Yes, I would.
Yes. I thought it was pretty significant. We get a reveal on Monica about her DNA. Mm-hmm. And she's obviously gone into the hex and now out of the hex. And Darcy tells her DNA has changed. Here's why I found that so significant. I had thought she had alien DNA already. And I thought that because of, she was the super child in the movie, and then Captain Marvel. And then she's clearly, or I thought she was clearly enhanced some way to be able to get through the barrier. I thought that was already in her. But this reveal seemed to say that no, she wasn't enhanced or different or special. It was going through the barrier that did that. But whichever one is correct, her DNA is now changed. And hopefully we'll see her again in some other adventures. But I thought that was really significant because this is the first person outside the hex or outside the sphere that has been affected by it. So what were your thoughts on kind of that whole storyline?
Yeah, I wonder if it has something to do with the fact that she's the only one who chose to go in, unprotected, I guess, other than, beekeeper guy coming up through the pipes. But she just pushed right through that barrier. She went through the full force of whatever it was twice.
Right.
So, maybe it was because of that. I didn't have any idea, or I didn't think that she was already super in some way. I thought she was just kind of, the normal child of an exceptional pilot, who rose to, become a very competent professional in the organization. But maybe she was altered or extra in some way. She certainly knew it was possible, having grown up knowing Captain Marvel. Did you get the idea that she and Captain Marvel had, some bad blood? When Captain Marvel's name was brought up, she didn't look very happy.
I thought her relationship with Captain Marvel was a little difficult because of the length of time she was gone so long the first time. After, they thought she was dead and she reappears on Earth. I thought it kind of revolved around that, but I would have thought that could have been overcome with a reunion, but perhaps not.
Yeah, I think we might have more to see there, but I think, getting back to the science and the dream team, they, along with a huge proportion of the Sword Force at the end of the episode, of course, are pulled into the universe of Westview as the hex expands. I'm so excited. I think this was one of those series that it picks up and gets better with every single episode. So I'm excited to get into the home stretch.
You're absolutely right. So, I hope our listeners will join us for our next episode. I'm your co-host, Tom Fox.
And I'm Megan Dougherty. See you soon.
This is Tom Fox again. Thanks so much for joining us on our continued exploration of all things MCU and WandaVision. Because That's What Heroes Do is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.